Well, tonight, another cracking debate with a good cracking panel. We're hot to trot at the moment. Ncuti, come on. We've talked about the BBC. We've talked about showrunner versus producer, but I think it is time to actually get excited about the new season. The main man, Ncuti Gatwa, he's been shooting his mouth off. He's got a good name, hasn't he? Ncuti's been shooting his mouth off, but also there's all the promise of this actor. There's all the promise of the 15th Doctor. So I want everybody aboard so we can discuss that. So as I've got here on my thumbnail that you'll have seen for days now, let's look at the 15th Doctor in detail. Has he had his 15 minutes of fame in flames or in fanfare? We'll take a good look at that. And of course, I'll have all our usual news items. And we're going to start with a news item in a minute. Quite a tasty one. Well, it's just a little tidbit from RTD, but we'll get into that. So as you'll see on my screen now, those are the news headlines we're going to look at tonight. Starting with one, then the debate, then we'll move into the others with a bit of tasty merchandise. Could I be talking about the Doctor Who magazine front cover by any chance? So I'll bring on our mates. So let's have a welcome one and all. So hello, Rachael. Hello.
Hiya, hi. Queen of Woke is here. Welcome. Royalty is in the building. Hi.
Hello. I know, and you've got all your theories on your channel. Yeah, I know you've been telling me about some of them. So please like and subscribe and go to Rachel's channel. She's a busy bee. John, hello.
Hello, how are you? How is everyone? All right?
I know I should call you working class as well, should I? No,
well, you can try.
I could try. Well, the BBC don't talk to them anymore, so I just thought me and Sean need to kind of stick together on this. So, hello. I see Jeremy every time I have him on. I wonder why I have him on. He's always reading, or actually making K9.
I'm just catching up. I'm just catching up with a thrilling Patrick Troughton story.
I'll tell you the ending, Jeremy. So, good to see you again. Hello. In your vacuous, very impersonal, cold, clinical hospital ward.
I'm decorated.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Don't like it.
And good old Grego, the time scales. Hello.
Hi, guys. Good morning.
Good morning. Good tea time. Good afternoon. Good evening. Goodbye. It sounds like the beginning of the Eurovision Song Contest when they do all the different languages. Good morning. Good evening. Bonsoir. Right. Hello. Right. So let's get. Why did I clap then? I've never been a primary school teacher in my life. It looks as though I was threatening people. Right. So let's chop to it, as it were. Now, first thing I want to say is, please like and subscribe. We're coming up to our 50th show. Do you know what, Sunday crew? Next Sunday will be our 50th. And so, you know, we'll have to have a little look back and all the rest of it. But please like and subscribe. You know, we've been going for 4 months, just about 50 shows. And we've just about scraped to the new series. So please, if you haven't already, like and subscribe, join the gang, join this ever-growing channel, and welcome aboard. So, first news item, let's introduce this. Russell T. Davies, our great showrunner, says Doctor Who Series 14's Empire of Death is the most devastating finale ever. Or yet, he says, oh my God, you're going to die. He gives us a quote. So basically, he goes into a little bit more detail. He refers to it. It is the season 1 finale, not season 2. So it's Empire of Death. It will be the most devastating finale. There'll be a running theme, a running story. It'll build and build and build to the biggest finale. I've said it a few times just to make him feel pleased with the showrunning there. So is everybody excited? That's just the way we want to do it, isn't it?
Well, it's a bit of a stuck record, isn't it?
Well, I felt like it then.
They say the same thing over and over again about the finales in recent years, haven't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. But okay, you know, I guess I can take his word for it.
I just can't be bothered, can you? I mean, I just don't believe a single word he says. I really don't. It's like I don't like. You know, I don't know what it is, but I mean, it will be. He's right. It will be devastating, but I have a feeling it's going to be devastating in a more the timeless child type way than anything else. Devastating for us rather than, you know.
Yes, emotionally devastating. Yes, needing counselling. Yeah, John, definitely. I can see you're up for it.
Outrageous, you lot. I mean, this is the guy that said the 60th was going to be the biggest ever. How can you ever believe this guy's going to lie? Come on. Come
And
on,
the
guys.
specials
He's
were
not
special.
a fibber, is he?
I'm royalty. I give people the benefit of the doubt.
And the specials were special, John, weren't they?
Oh, they were magical. You know, I can't wait to watch them again.
Absolutely. While Blue Yonder was
Yeah,
sad.
Sickening.
magnifique.
Yeah. Forgetful. So, Jeremy, welcome back after a week away. So, are you excited? I bet you've been swatting up and reading all the interviews, and this has just got you champing at the bit.
So about it.
Well, RTD's marketing's not going very well here.
I'll watch it, of course, but I'm not going to build up my expectations.
No, it doesn't sound like it. And what about you, Timescales?
Oh, I'm definitely going to watch it because I can't wait to see if the fate of mankind is at stake again.
Oh, I know. Do you think we'll ever leave Earth on this nonsense?
Nope.
Well, as it happens, I mean, I think it's important that we actually then, for a second, think, well, if this is RTD's most devastating finale yet, we should actually consider the 4 that he's actually done. Now, on the right-hand side, they're listed extremely briefly, just in case. But I'm going to ask you a question in a moment. So you've got season 1, again, had the 9th Doctor up against the Daleks. Fate of mankind was at stake. Series 2, Daleks against Cybermen for the first time, Doomsday. Series 3, The Year That Never Was Under the Rule of the Master, Last of the Time Lords. And Series 4 was Davros with the Daleks, the Donna Noble, Meta Crisis, blah, blah, blah. So my question to my team is this. Which was the best season end from Russell T Davies? And you've got the 4 summaries there, just in case. So does anybody want to start us off?
Season 1.
But why? Why?
I just think, well, it was the first one following the return of the show to set it up. But I just thought it was very well done that they had the Dalek episode earlier in the season that built up how terrifying and how brutal the Daleks are. And then they brought half a million of them back for the finale. And then you also had a regeneration in there as well, which adds to it. And I think it was just a good way of doing a season finale. And I think the ones after it, they kind of got into this pattern where it was the big, they did it in season 1, but onwards, it was always the big reset at the end of each season. And I just think because it was fresh, because it was new, I would go with season 1.
Okay, anybody want to chime in?
Yeah, I'm with John on that one because here in America, we didn't really have a ton of media coverage on Doctor Who. Back in the 70s and the 80s, we didn't have any. And with the very first return season of New Who, I actually think that the regeneration was a surprise. And I know that a lot of British viewers have never had the opportunity of seeing a surprise regeneration because of their constant media coverage. I guess it's been like that since the beginning. And with the very first season coming to an end so fast, I had no idea that Christopher Eccleston was only doing a single season. So for me, that was definitely the best one.
Yeah, that would be dramatic if you didn't know. Unfortunately, we were kind of waiting for it after the blooming second week. Jeremy, you weren't excited earlier. So when were you excited? Which one of those?
Christopher Eccleston's season was very good, and it was quite gripping. And the last season of David Tennant, when he regenerated, which was very exciting, very good. I enjoyed it very much.
You see, when I look at these, Rachel, I can hear what people have said already, but the first season end with Rose, I'm going to come and get you, and then we had the regeneration, the episode after. It had a high element of space opera about it, but maybe after all those years of no Doctor Who, I kind of loved all that. But when he kind of repeated it with Doomsday, there he is against the wall, and, it's like he's got bad neighbours making noise or something. I don't know. And he's just stood there missing Rose. Then you've got the Last of the Time Lords where he was made into this little hobbit, which I couldn't stand. And then he floated like Jesus, didn't he, afterwards? And then you had the Donna. I mean, I have to say, when I start to look at these, I hated season 3's end. I just hated the whole point of it. After Derek Jacobi left, couldn't be bothered. The Doomsday, I liked the music because it was a surprise. But this is when we realised it was all going to be heavy emotional drama stuff, wasn't it, Rachel? So actually, I think it probably was season 1 for me.
Well, I'm going to play a bit of devil's advocate here. I actually think season 4. I would say, I like season 1's ending, because of all the regeneration and into another Doctor and all of that. But for me, series 4, it's the first time that we have a companion that dies, but metaphorically dies.
Yeah.
And she still exists, but her mind doesn't exist as we knew it. And that's a really sad ending for a companion in that whole, traveling with the Doctor and being in that time and space with the Doctor, and suddenly not being able to remember that and having gaps in your memory. That's got to be an awful thing to experience, and can't work out why you're thinking and feeling the way that you do, and the way that it's played. Wipe her memory, take her back to her family, and the way they play it's very toned down, but it's incredibly sad. And in many respects, she would have been better off dead. In many respects, and I just think it's really sad, and he's got to cope with that psychologically, and you just see him walk away, and it's I think it's made even more powerful with Bernard Cribbins doing what it was that he did.
Yeah.
But that's why I think for me that is the better cliffhanger. But the second one would be season 1.
I mean, it's almost a horrible allegory with dementia. It is awful.
Yeah, it's awful. It's awful.
However, before I move on to Sean, I was going to say, well, but Donna Noble didn't end there, did she? So
No,
are you?
they ruined it.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did.
So go on, Sean. I mean, honestly, they spoilt it though, didn't they? I mean, if that was a devastating, I can hear what Rachel's reasoning, but then they brought her back.
Yeah.
Oh well, you just have to let it go. Anyway, so going to the seasons or the series. The first one, yeah, very good. Personally, I'm split. My head says series 4, but my heart says, Doomsday, series 2. I mean, but you've got to look at how old I was, like 13, 14. So I grew up, I'm still fantastically, I've got it new to watch. I'm just rediscovering old Doctor Who, fresh. It's amazing. But I grew up with New Who. That was all I'd known. So I think it was good. I agree with you, Brendan. I couldn't really stand the whole little Doctor in a cage, like some kind of bizarre parrot. I thought was awful. Yeah. But I did love Martha Jones' aspect that she branched out on her own.
Yeah.
And I think she's one of the best companions and very underrated. But for me, I'm going to go with Doomsday. I'll go with series 2.
Okay. Well, we're not finished on the news because there's only a few words to look at, and since we're saying, okay, these are reasons why, RTD was successful with one of the season arcs at least. When he says the most devastating, in what way are we guessing he means? Are we thinking, look, Adric died, that wasn't even the end of a series. Tegan was left at the airport. I think Peter Davison cheered. I mean, honestly, I'm trying to think what the big kind of devastation would be, apart from we have to go to Ruby Sunday. Rachel, you explained in our show a few weeks ago about the 7th episode title, The Legend of Ruby Sunday, that possibly she's taken out of time, you said. So therefore, it seems to be leading to the conclusion, doesn't it, that she's, dead?
Yeah, I was hypothesizing that sort of thing, but then the Doctor goes and brings her back, but puts her into sort of like some kind of alternate reality or planet or whatever, where she just exists as a legend. But obviously, that's high reaching. So
anybody trying to guess and nail their colours to the mast now what the devastation is going to be?
David Tennant comes back and dies. properly.
That would be great. I mean,
You're
like,
cheering.
the Doctor, not David Tennant.
Oh, just get rid of him.
Yeah, just get.
David Tennant comes back, is evil, then dies.
Yes.
Valiard.
Yeah.
Neil
Yeah,
Patrick
there you
Harris
go.
comes back and does a medley of Spice Girls songs. I wouldn't
Yeah.
mind. That was the bit.
Yeah, well, we've got that Dr. Dancer's item later that it could be the Tennant's last waltz. It could be. Or that last smooch before you get kicked out of nightclubs. Remember that? So, I don't know. I mean,
The Master's
got
got
the
to
Ruby's-
come back, hasn't he?
Who's that, sorry?
The Master's got to come back, hasn't
oh, no.
You know-
We
you
know
know
it's going to
it's-
be. We know
Oh, the
it's gonna
Master's
be.
got to come back. Yeah, because
The
of the
ring.
gold thing. Yeah,
The gold
No, the golden tooth,
has
wasn't it?
to come back.
Yeah. yeah.
What
we
I
need-
never understood about the giggle, now that we're talking about the Master, is when that hand reaches and grabs that tooth in the giggle,
Yes.
Yeah.
that's right on the edge of the platform.
That's right.
So I've just
Exactly.
got an image of a woman scaling a giant, Stark Tower building to just get this gold tooth.
Well, what was the name of the lady? She played the Bionic Woman later. She was in the one-off Planet of the Dead. Lady Christina, was she?
Yeah.
Michelle
Yeah.
Ryan. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Michelle Ryan. She could do it because she did some amazing Mission Impossible apparent work in that Doctor Who episode, didn't she?
She's got more gold, though. She's got bigger gold than just a little bit of it as a tooth.
So we've had the Celestial Toy Maker. Now we need the Celestial Dentist. Okay, to bring the Master back.
It's the whole tooth and nothing but the tooth.
Oh, very good, very good.
Oh.
Yeah,
I think
you
this
can come
series
back
will-
again, Jeremy.
Yeah, this series, I think, will give me something akin to a feeling of toothache, but we'll see how it goes. Keep an open mind.
Music. Oh, the thing is, I've put it in red here, which is, so the theorizing is this another companion-centric story? And I suppose there's been so many hints of it,
Yeah.
but I am sick of them.
Yes.
Can we have the Doctor in peril and we just get on with it? And that the season arc can be that. Clearly, we're being led. But I remember we were throwing in bluffs and double bluffs last show. It does look very, pinned on that she's going to be dead or taken out of time or something. Can I just say on that theory to expand? Because we're Doctor Who fans, for God's sake. And this is news, but it's what we do with the news. Because I was watching the Giggle again and the Church on Ruby Road for this debate, I actually thought, hold on a minute, it was there all along. When you think that the bit that I can't stand, the sledgehammer creating a second TARDIS moment, the Ncuti Doctor did actually say there's some residue toy maker kind of energy left. Now, the toy maker's realm is fantasy. So has that made a fantasy TARDIS that once you go in it, you go into an alternative universe that isn't even part of the same universe? Do you know what I mean? It's like, does this kind of, because remember RTD in one of his interviews said that when he saw the opening sequence that they'd done for the specials, he asked them to put a bit more kind of friction sparks on the TARDIS going through the vortex, as if it was just a bit different. I just wonder if it was there at the beginning. The toy maker's fantasy residue takes that made-up fantasy TARDIS into a different place. So if he meets Ruby Sunday there, she's in an alternative anyway. So when he realizes he's trapped in his fantasy universe, he realizes she doesn't really exist in the real one. So she's actually doesn't. So when he does find his way back, she can't go. That kind of stuff. And of course, the crack in the Church on Ruby Road, that she was there, then she wasn't there, and she was taken out of time. And even Davina McCall said, there's no trace of your parents at all in time. I just wonder if, yes, it's about her, but actually she didn't exist in the first place, or that his TARDIS is now in a fantasy universe, and then he realizes he can't take her back to how he gets to the other one.
I'm not being funny, Brendan, but you're putting an awful lot of credence in the searching powers of Davina McCall. I mean, I've got to be honest.
She's good. ITV can get everywhere, I tell you.
Davina McCall, it's like, that's what's going to bring the kids in. Someone who was on Big Brother 12 years ago, that'll get everyone invested. You're like, oh my God, what are they thinking?
And they had to save her as well.
The best bit, kill her with a star. It was great, and then they saved her. I was like, nah, last chance.
Well, I've put a lot of thinking into this. I'm up there with Sutek. You know me, folks. So. Yes, so we've got this as a problem, haven't we? So, I mean, I was just looking at the trailers for the new series, thinking we've got Space Babies 1 Boom, Devil's Cord, 73 Yards, Legend of Ruby Sunday, Empire of Death. So it does seem to fit that vibe. I'll come back to him later. So, anybody else got any other theories? Because I thought I'm on it. You know me. I'm up there. I know Sutek's coming back. I am... I'm shouting my mouth off about it. It is Sutek in the Empire of Death. Any other thoughts on devastating finale?
I do think you're right. I do think he's playing there's going to be the multiverse is going to play into it. We've talked about this before. I can see that happening. I do think where he's talking now about gods, I do just get this feeling now that it's going to be like, like Fenric and other beings, that similar stature, really. And I'm wondering whether he's just sort of riffing off of Big Finish again, really, because Big Finish did a story years ago and it had Fenric back in it, but it had all the other gods in there as well, and they were at war. So... it wouldn't surprise me if he's trying something like this.
It would bore me.
And I'm the same as you, Brendan. I'm just tired of the impossible girl kind of situation. It's just, and also, can we please be off Earth?
Yeah. Can we please be out of Sheffield? Can I ask a question to the panel, Brendan? Is that all right?
Yeah.
Oh God, my ears. Does anyone? I feel like personally they've jumped the gun with Ruby Sunday. As much as I'm more excited to see what she does than I am the Doctor. To be fair, I think it feels like, Rose Tyler. If you take her as a comparison, skip series 1, Rose appears in series 2, and before you even see her in series 2, everyone's going, "This character's going to go by the end. We think she's going to go." It's like, no, can I get to know her first so that I actually might care? Because if she goes now, frankly, after that Christmas special, I don't really care if she goes. I'm not interested. Could you take the Doctor with her? But we'll have to see. I feel like they've jumped the gun. That's my big feeling.
I think she's. I don't think it's behind the scenes is a happy production. That's the first thing I would say on it, and I think that's probably part of the cause of why they've had to do this and to go this route of her going early. Because I think, like you, I mean, you want to invest in a character, and I don't think at all that it was planned that she was only going to be in a little bit in season 2. The original plan was she was going to be in season 1 and 2, and then it would go from there. So they're just saving face at the moment with the PR job.
Before the others come in then, let me throw this out. You saw a sneak peek then, and this is kind of, it links to this, but this is season 2. Now, if you don't want spoilers, tune away for about 8 minutes and then tune back in for us discussing Ncuti. But basically, these are shots from season 2. We're starting to think we're leading to the finale. There's Jonah Hauer-Kin looking smart as, and the discussion here is, some are questioning whether we are seeing a parallel London with someone or something messing with time. While we don't know too much about Hauer-Kin's involvement, we do know how important Gibson's Ruby Sunday is to season 15 as part of the TARDIS trio. She's meant to be his girlfriend and him her boyfriend, so to speak. I've seen photographs. And it says, we're heading into season 2. Oh my God, Ruby Sunday is important to that. And so is he. And you see lots of different posters there. So there's been a picture of him alongside a gruesome monster. There's posters there that say, what would Conrad do? Everyone can be happy. And Conrad sees our hard work. And some people are speculating, is he duping Ruby all the way along? And he's like a Harold Saxon figure. So we're talking about season 1 being the most devastating. we seem to think it may be Ruby Sunday at some point. I hear what you're saying, Sean, but I'm then thinking, no, I'm one of those who thinks she has definitely been planned to be in it all the time. But to make the narrative work, she has to leave for a while and then come back. It happened with Tegan. It can be done. I think there's a master plan that she was never leaving. It was just unfortunate how the spin went. But I think she's part of this plot. And it's a trick, really. Like you're saying, can you invest in a character? She's taken out of time, or she's actually dead, doesn't really exist. And then in season 2, when she's back in the right place, she's getting duped by this bloke who's more dangerous. Something like that.
Even in season 2, she might not even be traveling in the TARDIS.
True.
Yeah. And she's just back for, what is it? It was 2 episodes, but they said it's 4 now, didn't they?
Is it 4 now?
Right. Now it's 4. Now, you know, the thing that really surprised me about this with Millie Gibson was that the media news or rumors, I don't know how to differentiate between those, but the media news or the rumors that Millie Gibson had left, which seemed shocking because of the fact that we haven't even seen a season with her in it yet. And there seemed to be some pretty good proof that she had been terminated. I remember people saying that they had it from a good source, that she's been terminated. And the last time that we talked about this, we had just found out that wasn't true. Go ahead, Rachel.
If she was terminated, right, this is just it.
Terminated, yes.
Hi. If she was terminated, then is it possible that what they might have done was try to do what they tried to get Colin Baker to do, and that was to come back for a certain period of time before officially leaving? I
think that's what they're doing essentially. I think they've basically, part of their exit agreement is that she does a brief bit of PR, then off she goes. Because it just lines up. I mean, if you were going to do that, why would you keep it quiet for so long when you know that the photos are out? I mean, to give you another example, when people saw Tennant filming, they put out a statement literally straight away about it. But when you saw the new companion, it was crickets for quite some time, wasn't it? You didn't hear anything from the production.
I've always said all the way along that I just think via agent or something could have been said that kind of just said it is what it is. But it would wreck the narrative if you announce something as blunt as she's left or she's not left, because the narrative is going to be that she seems to be left. I think that's the point. Can you imagine if there was the PR agent for Janet Fielding said, she hasn't left, folks, at the end of Time Flight? That kind of killed that little bridge, didn't it? So I think it's something like that. I honestly do.
Yeah, as echoes this first series, though behind the scenes, but it's been more public this time. It has a real feel of the first series of Russell T Davies' original run, where we find out years later that essentially, you know, Christopher Eccleston isn't happy with the way some people are treated, and he doesn't want to stay, and he goes. It has, you know, we don't even know at this point whether has, you know, Ruby Rose come back properly? Is she come back to film new scenes, or are they just using extra scenes? Is she on monitors? We don't really know. So we'll wait and see. I don't believe much this. Well, I don't believe anything they say. We'll see.
Well, it looks as though our panel are not excited by news item number 1. So I think we're going to roll straight on to our next item. So I think everybody will be excited by this. Who can't be? If you're not a doctor, I mean, you can't be a Doctor Who fan if you're not excited about the new Doctor and a new season and all the rest of it. So the 15th Doctor, handy number actually, has he had his 15 minutes of fame? So I've twisted that. Is this 15 minutes of fame in flames or fanfare? And we're going to really look at that because, of course, he has been out and about, shooting his mouth, talking about the series. Lots of photographs. Gosh, he likes clothes. And sometimes he doesn't like clothes. So basically, Ncuti. But can I take you all, please, back to the days when it was all so simple? And, of course, he'd just been selected and announced on the 8th of May, 2022. My God, it's nearly 2 years ago. And there it is. The future's here. Ncuti Gatwa is the Doctor. And then they use them silly symbols that, to be honest, never excited me. And then, of course, we had his first, the discussion of why Russell Davies picked him. And Ncuti said himself, they aren't quite the words to describe how I'm feeling. A mix of deep honor, beyond excited, and of course, a little bit scared. This role and show means so much to so many around the world, including myself, and each one of my incredibly talented predecessors has handled that unique responsibility and privilege with the utmost care. I will endeavour my utmost to do the same. Russell Davies is almost as iconic as the Doctor himself, and being able to work with him is a dream come true. His writing is dynamic, exciting, intelligent, and fizzing with danger. An actor's metaphorical playground. The entire team have been so welcoming, and truly their hearts, I give their hearts to the show. And so as much as it's daunting, I'm aware I'm joining a really supportive family. Unlike the Doctor, I may only have one heart, but I'm giving it all to this show. Now, John, you found that for me again, so you might as well start. How did this make you feel then?
Yeah, well, I mean, at the time, I was buzzing. I was like, okay, I look forward to this. I can't wait to get through the 2 years, roll on the 2 years. And I wish I could go back and tell my earlier self not to bother. stick with the classic stories. But it just shows again that he puts out this statement, all of that, I'll endeavour to do the same. And then roll it on to where we are now. And he's been shooting his mouth off for the last few days. So, was he always like this, or has his ego grown significantly since this initial statement? Or is it just this is a standard press release written by somebody else? Now we're actually getting to hear the real Ncuti in the last few days.
Well, John, I think I might be a little bit more optimistic than that. Now, there's one thing in here that I had to laugh when I read. It's been a while since I've read this. Thank you for finding it. Where it said that Russell T Davies is almost as iconic as the Doctor himself. See, what I'm waiting for is Russell T Davies to actually cast himself in the role as the Doctor. Because wouldn't that be the next progressive step? He's already running the show and writing half of it. But anyway. With this statement right here, I'm still excited about Ncuti being the Doctor because we've only seen him in the role once. And actually, I don't think he even had pants on the entire time. So I want to actually see Ncuti as the Doctor on screen. And thanks to you for finding this article. I'm still pretty much just as excited today as I was when I first read this.
I respect what you're saying. My view on it, though, is that he's probably had longer now as an introduction than some other actors had as playing the Doctor that we were gripped with. And I'll be honest with you. I watched The Church on Ruby Road, and my view on it, I very much liked the beginning of it, where he's not saying much and he's got a stern face on. And he's got the outfit on, and he's outside the TARDIS after the baby's been dropped off outside the church. Then you see him in the nightclub where Ruby's DJing. I like that. I thought if he played it straight back, he could be really, really good. But sadly, and this is where I go to Russell T Davies, this is the problem, is because he's making him wacky and whimsical, with a goofy smile. And I don't think every single Doctor has to be played that way. And I think that's going to be a detriment to him as an actor. And I think if he played it straight, I think he could be very, very good.
Well, let's be honest. I'm just before anyone comes in, we're going to try and talk about the positive element of Ncuti in the 15th Doctor first, just to be fair, because I know everybody's champing at the bit on the other bits.
And so just to clarify, what I meant by straight there was the fact, as in the role, not as in sexual preference or whatnot.
We know, mate. We know. We're not idiots. We're not idiots. Don't worry about it.
That way.
Basically, just for those who are watching us. We'll start with the positivity. Otherwise, it looks as though we might be a channel who are just going in there with a sledgehammer, and that's not our style on Sense Sphere. So, yeah, it was promising. I didn't have any problem with what he said. It was much better than Jodie Whittaker and what she said at the beginning when she took out half the audience. admittedly, we may talk about what Ncuti said later, but at the start, I thought it showed due deference, respect, excitement. I was quite happy with that. I mean, and now you've mentioned, John, some elements of Church on Ruby Road and The Giggle. I mean, I'm just going to shout out, I've got to be positive. When you heard the 15th Doctor music and it's so jazzy and exuberant, he has been jazzy and exuberant. I liked when he told the David Tennant Doctor to get out of his TARDIS in The Giggle, and he said, "I love you, get out." There was a kind of, whoa. He seems to be established now as a Doctor who's life-loving, life-affirming, fun-loving. He had a bit of strop about him when Ruby on the Goblin ship said they're time-traveling goblins, and he said they're bimble, they don't time travel, and you could see that strength there. I thought the standout scene for him since the beginning up to today was the scene with David Tennant in the TARDIS at the end of The Giggle when they slowed down. And this is, I think, more an RTD issue, because when David Tennant used to talk too fast, I didn't like that. I thought that was just gobbledygook nonsense. But when you slow down the actor, when they talked about Mavic Chen and Sarah Jane and everything, I saw Ncuti really slow down and he had gravitas. And I thought, well, it's there. It's up to the writer now to deliver on that one. So, and of course, he knows how to charm. He charmed Cherry Sunday, all right. So, you know, before we start to kind of look at other places, these are the elements I liked about the Doctor thus far. Anybody else want to join?
Yeah, I think I'll echo what John was saying, and yourself, Brendan. When you were saying, John, I loved. I couldn't stand anything that happened in The Giggle, but when it got to the Church on Ruby Road, when I rewatched it yesterday before I fell asleep 45 minutes in, I genuinely liked the start. He comes out the TARDIS, he has this emotional face, and you think, oh, we might be onto something here. And, you know, he's flamboyant, he acts carefree, very young. He's clearly cast off that last of the time, even though he still is, he's very much cast off that last of the Time Lords, guilt of a genocide, all that kind of thing. And you felt like, in a way, the series kind of needed to do that. I don't agree with it. Anyway, I'll stick positive. I really, really enjoyed the ladder scene. The music for the 15th Doctor, I absolutely love. I love the part where he, you know, the gloves are a bit daft, but I liked the bit where he kind of went ta-da and did that, and the music swelled. I thought that's a real Doctor moment. Like Whittaker never got one. Like he's had one already, and I thought that's a very Doctor thing to do. So there's something to work with there, and that's all I'll say for now.
Okay, well, we're trying to be positive at the beginning. It's still the early stages of the launch of a new Doctor, although granted, he's had his Caves of Androzani ending and he's had a whole Twin Dilemma now. So we're moving to Attack of the Cybermen time, aren't we? Rachel, where do you stand on the positivity about Ncuti in the 15th?
Well, here's the thing. One of my friends asked me, because they believe Doctor Who is dead. They asked me, can Ncuti act? And I said, yes, he can. And he went, yeah, right. And I said, no, he can. And I based that off of the slow down scene in the TARDIS, because that was one of my, I thought that was one of my favorite bits, because that bi-generation was a real doozy towards David Tennant and Ncuti. They didn't get a clear finish and start, but the fact that they had that wonderful bit of dialogue, I like that dialogue, and they actually like tied a load of ends and thought processes that we hadn't seen tied together before tied together, and I think that was a good idea. And it was slow, it was calm, it wasn't too much. And then one of my favorite shots in Ruby Road, in the Church on Ruby Road, was where, you know, he's running across the rooftops. Yeah, and he's just jumping as if it's nothing over these chimneys. That's one of my favorite shots. And he's just like, yeah, what are you doing? What are you doing? Jumping over. What are you doing? And I was just like, that's brilliant. He's got good agility. So I'm thinking that we're going to be seeing some really cool like action stuff. Yeah, that. I didn't even know you had that picture ready, but that was one of my favorite shots. Like, but I'm like, if he's got that good of agility, then hopefully we'll see some really energetic, like, but properly acted energetic, you know, not the like whoa, 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 tammy-wimey, wibbly wobbly David Tennant stuff.
Yeah.
You know, which was good. But you know, just like proper energy, proper like taking things on. I think he's gonna be enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Jeremy?
Well, he's got enthusiasm, which is always a good start as an actor. So obviously he's interested in playing the role, which is something. And looking at reading that interview, I think that's actually what he actually did say when he was interviewed. And yeah, I think that it feels like a fresh start. It feels like a new program, which I suppose is a change from what we've had before for the last 2-3 years, which gives it a new look and a fresh feel to it.
I mean, the bits I said I'm sticking to. Grego, the timescales. Are you? Where are your positive beats with Ncuti and the 15th Doctor?
Well, the energy. I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I had it on mute. There was a fire truck going by. The positive energy, and you guys have made me think about the TARDIS scene where they actually did slow down, and his acting ability with Sex Education. I watched episodes of that, and actually, because I didn't want to ruin the imaginary ability to be able to get into Doctor Who with this particular actor. But yes, he definitely can act. Now, I was really excited about all of the different costumes that he was being shown in, I guess, for the last couple of years now. I'm thinking about what John just said how things have changed over the years, and I'm trying to stay positive. And I'm not going to say that he's been shown in too many costumes, but I've kind of wondered if this is too much of a visual buildup of this actor as the Doctor over time, because I just want to see Doctor Who, and I want to see Ncuti as the Doctor. I'm excited about him. I liked his performance in the Church on Ruby Road, and I am positive. I'll just leave it at that.
Now, that first outfit looks great. I wish they just kept him with that outfit. It suits him, and I think is really good.
And there's so many outfits.
Yeah,
my God.
They are. So we're coming to, I mean, we're playing fair, but if there's nothing else to glean out, you know where we're going next, folks. So in our discussion of the 15th Doctor and whether these 15 minutes of fame in flames or fanfare are fair, we move over to our burning issues. And the burning issues is when I'll ask each panelist. They've obviously got a list of negatives and criticisms, but I'm going to actually be very strict and say, what's your main gripe of this new version of the Doctor or of Ncuti? What's your main gripe at the moment? Because this is burning issues, and then we'll go into a lot more detail later. So here comes our burning issues. Okay, John, your main gripe with the 15th Doctor Ncuti Gatwa introduction?
I think I'm just getting a bit tired of the whole, the whole cocky, wacky kind of portrayal. Really, I think that's my main gripe with it. Really, that's what sticks out to me. And again, I don't particularly blame him for that. I blame the writing for it. But, and when I watched The Giggle, there was, within those first 10 minutes that he was on screen, if I'm honest, he was starting to get on my nerves. You know, I just wanted to focus on Tennant, which you would anyway, but it just wasn't clicking for me. But, you know, hopefully that tones down and, you know, he does knock it out of the park.
Yeah, I mean, we were saying in our household, the snag with RTD is he always wants to instinctively goes for loads of humor when he hasn't quite established the tension or the suspense.
Yeah.
Has to keep going for that. He seems to dumb down kids, that kids have to have wacky slapstick nonsense all the time. And sad to say, he hasn't been in a school. He likes to tell me how to think. But if he'd been in a school or been a father, he might know that kids are actually wanting a little bit more than silliness all the blooming time.
Yeah.
I made a long list. I'm a teacher. So take a look at this. This is not guiding the panel. This is just roughly where I was going with this. So green are my positives. Hopefully I've said them already. Red is what I'm not happy with at all. And then there's those in the middle where I'm, So, you know, I'm not going to start with me yet, but it might just give people ideas or just spark more kind of thoughts on what they want to say. Rachel, what would your main gripe be so far?
Sorry, I was on mute.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I got a load of lists. I got a big list, which obviously you know because I sent it to you.
I mean, remember, we'll go over the others later. But this is
I'm
the
just
main one.
I'm just choosing. I think I don't know if it's going to happen yet, but I think I'm a little bit worried that they're going to focus on the Doctor's sexuality rather than storytelling. I'm a bit worried that's going to happen.
What have you seen so far that's hinting at that?
The whole Whittaker era.
No,
Sorry, John.
well, I don't know about that, but
The name
but
of the
like,
showrunner?
I think it was. Well, look at that picture on screen right there. And Ncuti Gatwa teases the gayest Doctor Who ever. That statement, and that what he's wearing there, that I mean, when he was running around in shirt and pants, you know, underwear, I was just like, why on earth is that happening? You know, I mean,
Yeah.
that's like that's is that appropriate? It's a family show.
It's an RTD fantasy.
And it's an RTD fantasy, exactly.
Yeah.
And there's your Regency one there, and that's been implied that with those two characters, isn't it?
Yeah.
From the trailer alone, that's what it's implied. That's what I'm worried about, because they don't, like, throughout the entire series, they've not. Well, I say that, but then they did the Doctor and Rose storyline, didn't they? But even I didn't like that one. So
just to be fine on this one. So that's your main one, I know, at the moment, so to speak. But is it the fact that they're making him gay or flamboyant, or is it the fact that you just don't want him getting bogged down in emotional stuff?
I don't want him to get like stereotyped.
Yeah.
And I think that would be like potentially harming to his career and future roles. And yeah, I don't want him to get stereotyped and be
I think
I don't like the relationships in the TARDIS either. In like romantic relationships in the TARDIS. So
yeah,
it's a complicated gripe, I guess you could say.
And we may explore it a bit later. Who wants to come in on their main gripe at the moment, or their main worry, really?
I'm gonna burst. Can I jump in?
Aye, of course.
I look, you know, you've people listening and, you know, people on the panel, you know, you've got to be blatantly honest. So this statement might upset people, but I fear he's a one-trick pony. Now, if you don't, does everyone know what that means? I fear that he's been in sex education. He was very good in that. He went in, he did one audition. He gets the role because he's so amazing. Like Jim Parsons, who plays Sheldon Cooper for Big Bang Theory, goes in once, does so amazingly well, they worry it's a fluke and ask for him to come back. And yet Ncuti Gatwa gets it in one. Now, whether you like Big Bang Theory or not, Jim Parsons is amazing. And it's like, really? Like one audition and this guy just nails it? And I fear that, you know, and I've spoke to, you know, me and Brendan, we had this conversation the other day. where I worry that the portrayal is going to put more people off. And even people who don't read these articles, most people don't troll and read these articles like us. I fear that it will turn off more casual fans than it will make them want to turn on. And you need your casual viewers back. That's what Doctor Who's lost. The lowest rated debut episode for a Doctor, full debut episode, and it's Oh yeah,
The
of
thing
course
I'd
it's
say,
possible to. Sorry, go on.
no, sorry, I was just going to feed you a bit more. I mean, one of the actors that Rachael has talked about before a lot is Colin Baker, and it's all known fair well that he was at a wedding and John Nathan Turner was impressed with him at the wedding and picked him to be the new Doctor. So, he's had an audition, has Ncuti.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, look at Daniel Radcliffe; he gets spotted in a theatre. So I suppose we know it does. We know that it happens, and I don't go into politics on my podcast, and I try not to when I do guest spots. But I feel like it feels like there's a lot more behind this. I hope 100% that he's been chosen because he's the best for the job, and I hope he proves me wrong, and I hope he comes in and absolutely smashes it. But from what I've seen in the episodes he's been in, he's had one full episode now. He's had bits at the end of one, and I kind of think, I worry. I think I don't see it. I really don't see it. But I'd love to be proved wrong. I really would.
The thing is, John, you were saying about what you've heard. What we were told is that at the very end of an audition process, they'd chosen their Doctor, and then he comes in the room, and then they went, "Oh, this is definitely the one." And Andy Pryor, I mean, what's Andy Pryor's job? He's casting his field wide. He does the auditions and that. So why would they be hiring Andy Pryor if they weren't auditioning for various key parts, etc.?
Well, for me, I don't think it was an audition. I think he was picked. And I think that whole statement from Russell T Davies is so contrived. He's the last one that came in and he just blew everyone away. We were going to go with somebody else. I don't buy that. And just because you've got casting directors doesn't mean you can't choose who you've got. It's like with my work, you can have someone go in for an interview, even though you know who you want to give it to. You've still got to go through the interview process to make it look like you're being fair and transparent. And I don't think Ncuti did audition. I think he was handpicked for this role.
But that's a suspicion.
Yeah, that's my suspicion.
Yeah. I mean, Rachael, can that happen nowadays? Really? No auditions? I mean, really?
It can happen. Yeah, it can.
I mean, equally, people can say they auditioned them when they'd already decided them. So there's no way we can find out, really, is there?
No, there's no way that you can find out. They can just say that. Okay, I can think of one example of where someone didn't audition and she actually admitted it. This is going back years ago. It's an actress called Sharon Small. She was in the Inspector Linley Mysteries, and they were doing a modern day adaptation of A Midsummer Night's Dream, and they said, "We want you for Titania." She didn't even have to audition. She went in and she did the job. Now, that was just fortunate because that was good casting, but it can happen.
So where Sean's coming from is, Sean, are you thinking of the DEI thing, the diversity?
No. My point is that if he was that amazing to get it in one audition, because I'll take RTD at his word, and they chose somebody, I'd love to know who they picked, and then Ncuti comes in and takes it. For me, I think if he was that amazing, then who the hell's on the screen? Because nothing he's done has wowed me. Like you can blame the writing as much as you want, but we've seen Capaldi. He had some of the poorest writing before Whittaker. I mean, his run really was up and down like a yo-yo, but he had that class about him. He had that real, look at like the 11th Hour with Matt Smith, and look at The Church and Ruby Rose. It's night and day. There's not even a comparison. That he's nowhere near that level of ability in my eyes, and if people love it, good for you. But for me, I don't see it. It's like bringing a sub on in football and everyone goes, "Oh, he's the wonder kid," and you go, "Really him?" Looks like he's won he looks like he's he's won a competition to come on and
Shanks
play
it
for
over the
5 minutes.
bar. Yeah.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? I want to be proved wrong, but everything I've seen so far, and I just don't see it. I really don't.
I'm really trying to be as objective as possible, and I'm looking at all the first episodes of all the Doctors, and Twin Dilemma was problematic, but he was strong. He came across very clearly and distinctly. I thought Sylvester McCoy had a bad start, but that was maybe the writing, the directing, or something. It had no soundtrack. It was really limited. I think it's hit and miss. I do, and all I can say is I have lots of criticisms of what looks as though it's coming down the line, but I think he's got an awful lot of charisma, and I think he's got, like Rachael said, a lot of physical energy. And Patrick Troughton was famous for that. And I don't know. I mean, Chris Eccleston in Rose. I mean, how far was he off the scale? I mean, he was good. I liked him, but I don't think Shooty's kind of been overshadowed or anything. Jeremy, where are you standing on this at all? Where's your big bugbear? Where your big kind of problem?
Well, what I'm seeing is a lot of the time is image, and projecting, rather than concentrating on the scripts first. That you've got good scripts to start off with, good direction, and then all the rest will follow into place. But for me, it's all this changing different clothes, different outfits, and you've got to have something to back it up with. And I think they're sort of veering away from the format, the original format, which is another thing
Do you know what,
that
Jeremy?
irritates me.
What's interesting, Jeremy, is what you're kind of saying is Capaldi was let down by the writer, Jodie Whittaker was let down by the writer, and maybe Shooty is being let down by the writer.
Well, the thing about Capaldi was some of his performances were spot on. In other episodes, it was like he could have just phoned the performance in. There's something wrong on some particular episodes where the director should have had a word with him to sort of lift up the performance a bit. But if you look at stories like Into the Dalek and Flatline, he was spot on. But with The Caretaker, you just felt, when you're watching it, I thought like his performance is kind of subdued. So I don't know. His performance was a bit up and down a bit, but he was still miles better than Jodie Whittaker. I think.
I mean, timescales. You can't say. Well, you can't. We can't accuse this of Shooty. But what's your gripe at the moment?
No. Well, I am very concerned about the current era that the show is in, because I look at Doctor Who as eras, and I want there to always be eras. And if it goes so wrong, it actually could get paused. And John raised an important or an interesting point there earlier about there being a mock interview. I've interviewed and hired a lot of people, and I have seen situations where the manager would have already decided who they needed, but due to certain processes that have to be gone through in order to ensure equality, you would need to actually go through the process of interviewing multiple people for the position. Now that these are job interviews, these are not auditions. But when we have to actually stop and think, wait a second, did the showrunner hand pick an actor and skip the audition process to where that actor was already pre-decided for the role in advance? When we have to actually ask ourselves to think about something like that, that's worrisome to me. And Doctor Who has been back in its new form for almost a quarter of a century. And we've had 3 showrunners. And I don't want to seem like I'm just railing on Russell T Davies, because I don't dislike the man. He's produced some wonderful Doctor Who. But I'm very concerned about the fact that we have only had this small handful of people in control of the show.
What you're saying about RTD timescales is interesting, because actually, I have to say, one of my big complaints, and it's of the whole era from 2005, and RTD is just going deeper into it now, really almost with impunity, is this objectification and sexualization of the Doctor, which is not Shooty's fault, because he only wanted one costume, and obviously he was overridden by this gender-pushing, societal-pushing costuming that obviously RTD's decided. Like you said, he's now the costume designer as well as everything else. I wonder if that's why we got ourselves into a pickle with the debate about this, the starch work, the I'm going to do a death drop. I'm going to distract a Dalek with this, that, and the other. I just wonder whether, well, it's in the Devil's Card. They dance their way out of trouble. It's in the Church on Ruby Road. They sing their way out of trouble. And there's this whole element where I think he's got this idea with the different costumes, with the figure hugging outfits and all the rest of it, that the Doctor can use his body, his physique to distract or to charm or to do whatever. I am really finding this whole area problematic. I want the Doctor to be the Doctor. I don't want sex involved. I don't want doctors chatting up people, and I don't want the Doctor chatted up. It's a no-go area for me. I think it's taboo, and I really don't know why we're going there. But that's my starter for 10 on an area I really find massively problematic.
I have to agree with you.
It's just yeah. Anyway, I won't elaborate, but everybody's got a gripe. Otherwise, we're off to the Doctor dances.
Yeah, I wouldn't say gripe. I'd say more fear that this is going to be a very, very preachy Doctor, and literally every story, it's going to be pointed out to the audience. You are bad people. You need to do better. And I really hope that's not the case, but I've just got big concerns that is coming. And there's, I think, yeah, I think that's going to happen. Now, if anyone's got that, just cross it off your list. I've done it.
My job is to say, where's your evidence so far, though? Where's your inkling, though, coming from?
I think if I'm looking at why I think that, it's just, I think the stuff that Ncuti has said in the press, which Rachael alluded to earlier. I also think just the way, I would say that the second half, after you have the nightclub scene on Ruby Road, after you have that initial by regeneration in his pants, I've just got a feeling it's all building to this being part of the series, and there's just bits of the trailers that make me think it's going to be more about that, and it's going to be more, I said on a previous chat, that there's talk, mentioned Bridgerton in those trailers, and I think we're going to get that, and you've got him winking at that, what people are thinking is the new Captain Jack. I think we're going to get a lot of that, but I also think we're going to get a lot of politics thrown at us. And I don't want that in Doctor Who. Nobody wants that in Doctor Who. We just want to enjoy it. And so let's just pray I'm wrong.
Well, I'll bring Sean in here. Sean, my other gripe is this one here. He no longer is a Time Lord. He's no longer a Gallifreyan. And we've gone piling into the blooming timeless children. He doesn't have a home. I don't have a people. I was adopted. He says all this, doesn't he? I was abandoned. I am adopted. I only found out recently. RTD, what the hell are you doing? This is not the Doctor.
It's an utterly bizarre. It's like, your team gets relegated 3 seasons in a row. I love my football analogies. And all of a sudden, you do the same thing. You have another season where you think, we'll. I don't know what they're trying to do. I don't know what on earth they think they're doing. They're making the same mistakes last time. In fact, if anything, they're being more overt than Chibnall ever was. Like, they're saying more, they're pushing more messages. People clearly don't want it. There might be an audience out there, and Russell T Davies is one of the best writers we've got in this country. He can write whatever he wants. If he wants to go out there and write a brilliant series on whatever issue he wants, knock yourself out. You the world's your oyster. But to come back to Doctor Who and continue the same mistakes that or could be seen as mistakes, definitely mistakes that Chibnall's made, that's led to the cancellation of the show, and then they've reversed it, and It just seems such, and retconning the Doctor as a Time Lord. It's like, you don't look like the Doctor, you don't act like the Doctor, you're not from Gallifrey, you're not a Time Lord. Why should I care? Why should I watch? And what have they got here that's trying to get people back they've lost? Nothing. Like, we're people who are still watching, whether for review purposes or otherwise. We're still watching, and we're this concerned What about people who they've lost that they want back?
You see, what I wanted to... Sorry,
Sorry,
Sean. What I was trying to
that's
do
fine.
to help you here was the show I did the other day, The First Sensory Saloon, is I looked at his documentary when he actually said, you know, what his plans were. And part of his plans was just to do the 3 specials. And it's when he was ambushed by the BBC executives very high up, he suddenly realized there was money involved. They wanted to go global, and he decided suddenly he had capacity for new ideas. And then I joined to John's point, and I'm thinking, then he thought, also in the documentary in November, please, everybody should watch it, RTD, The Doctor and Me. And in that, he actually makes extremely clear, as do all the people around him, that he's an angry man, that he's a man with a political agenda, and that he's a man that he thinks can do no wrong. He thinks he's untouchable. And so it joins to John's fear that actually, if you think you're untouchable and you've got a watertight 2-year Disney deal, you can do what the hell you want and you can have naught viewers. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can just spin the narrative. Oh, it was the most successful show ever because like you say, the viewing figures are hidden behind a wall.
Yeah, and as Sean, you know, Sean was saying there, and I was trying to help him out regarding some evidence, which is, you know, nobody wants us to go back into the Timeless Children. Nobody's asking for it, but he's gone there, and it's because he doesn't have to care about our reaction.
Yeah. If he'd have respectfully just ignored it, people would have gone, right, okay, you've ignored it. We'll go with your RTD. We'll go with you. We'll just ignore it. It could be an alternative universe. Who knows? The Doctor had a couple of funny years. We'll go with you. But to lean into it as heavily as they've done, it's like, and they did it in Wild Blue Yonder as well. That scene with Tennant. Yeah. I mean, I thought those. I mean, Tate, Tennant. The performances in that were just dreadful. But anyway, it was just. It was. You just think, why lean into it? Of all the things to lean into, you pick that. Oh, and also, John, you said the new Captain Jack. Wash your mouth. That was soap. That's sacrilege. Sacrilege, I tell you.
I didn't create it, mate. I didn't create it. But I was also going to say, when you're going back to the, you know, the giggle and everything that he was saying about characters, come back to me. I've lost my train of thought now. Over to someone else.
Okay, I've gone on about the foundling. I've gone on about the objectification and sexualization. I could go on about many things, but I'm sure there's one to come in. Timescales, you must have other gripes about this, or am I just leading you on?
Well, this is entertaining. I'm learning a lot from listening to you guys today, and Sean just mentioned something about just stepping away from the Timeless Children. Well, you know what? He can't do that. And the reason that he can't do that is because the Timeless Children is by one of the members of the Boys Club. The 3 people that have been responsible for this show since 2005, a quarter of a century, for God's sake, the same 3 people running it. Now, no, you don't get rid of who the Doctor is by saying that I have no people and I have no home or anything like that. And I hope that's not where they're trying to go. If they're trying to keep the show alive, they need to correct the problems that has caused it to become into the precarious state that it was at the end of the Jodie Whittaker era. Like, fix the problem where the BBC ordered the wrong type of music. Okay, that problem has been fixed. And guess who Russell T Davies brought back? Murray Gold, that is always with Russell T Davies. Now, not criticizing either one of them, but this is a small club of people that have been responsible for the show. And if they have failed it, they need to go. And a new creative team needs to be put in place, and the show needs to be brought back to what it is. Doctor Who. You don't explain who the Doctor is, therefore it's not Doctor Who anymore. So I think it's this small structure of people that have been given way too much control. And I think Rachael had your hand up there.
Yep.
Yeah. So it was it's kind of going to tie in with what you were saying. So my gripes. I have another gripe, which would have been my second gripe. I actually covered this in a video on my actual channel, and that is lack of inspiration from other doctors. And there was something in an interview that was said where they don't talk about past doctors on the set. And for me, that's sending some alarm bells there, because to me that suggests that you're either going to go completely away from the doctor, or you're just going to do your own thing without analyzing what your doctor is saying, and if that relates potentially to any past doctor. So are they going to get rid of the base facet of the doctor, which would have been William Hartnell, and then all the other doctors, obviously played off of that? They came in with that base facet, but then did another twist on it. Are we going to go completely away from that, or are we going to keep that and add in isms from the other doctors? As Sylvester McCoy said, Sylvester McCoy actually said that one of the things that he actually really liked about playing the Doctor was that there were 6 other people who played the Doctor before him. So he'd go through and he'd go, oh, that's Colin, that's Peter, that's William, and he'd actually find out who's, in his head, work out who said what. And I'm a bit worried that we're kind of going to go away from that. And
It's a good point.
Well, we can definitely. I hear you, because we can definitely explore that in our news thing, because that's one of the news headlines we'll discuss, which is RTD saying that. Because
yes, sorry, I forgot.
No, it's a great, because as you say, it bleeds into the plot, it bleeds into everything. It's very apt. I'm trying to categorize, but you can't really do that all the time anyway, can you? So, does anyone else want to come in with gripes? I've got plenty. I could fill the show myself.
I've got loads as well.
Go on then, Jeremy. Go on, Jeremy.
Well, mainly what you've said, Brendan. I think you've probably covered it as well. The various issues that are a bit niggly, but we'll see how they develop over season 1 and season 2.
Oh my God, look at the right. Oh, the silly little battlefield. Oh my God, even the posters are... What kind of tone is that?
It's for TikTok.
That was the trailer. That was the trailer that we studied a few weeks ago, where basically we've read into this, or I have, with this is built into the Empire of Death Sutek element. But the one thing I wanted to join in with another gripe was on the clothing costume element. I'm really concerned that they're making the Doctor cool when the Doctor was never cool. The Doctor was always the outsider. The Doctor was always somebody who had to use their brain, who had to use their intellect to work on this. And I mean, I've put this picture up, but I could be putting plenty up. He's no longer an oddball, with a long scarf or an Edwardian costume, a misfit, an anachronism. He's now the cool dude. Doctor Who, I'm sorry, if anybody understands the program like RTD is supposed to, the Doctor is an outsider. He even said, I'm a pariah. He said that in the 2 Doctors. Are these people not joining the dots? So that's another gripe of mine, totally not getting the Doctor's personality and character and just wrecking it.
Yeah. And I think 2 things. First one is a very personal one to me, being hair impaired. How the hell does he grow his hair so quick? Because I want to know.
It's a wig.
It's a wig.
Yeah.
I think it would have to be
the Doctor wearing wigs now, or the actor wearing a wig.
It's dress ups. It's cosplay.
Because is he going to do something in the story and he'll go, "Oh, I'm a Time Lord. My hair grows 3-4 times as fast now."
Oh,
that might do. I mean, Pete Davidson's hair grew around a bit, didn't it?
But I think it changed colour as well, wouldn't it?
I think we spoke about this before, Brendan, but I think that they tried this kind of thing, and I know it's not the Doctor, but they tried this with Captain Jack Harkness in Boomtown. They had an idea that every time Captain Jack landed in a time zone, he would dress appropriately to that time zone. But they did it once for Cardiff in Boomtown, and they decided very quickly, it doesn't work. And when you watch it back now, out of order, it looks very odd to see, Captain Jack Harkness walking around in just a regular 2006 pair of jeans and his shit. It's very, very odd. And like the costume's always been like a quintessential part of who the Doctor is, and it could change a little bit, but it just seems a very strange thing to change it up, and it does look like they're just throwing off something at the wall and see if something sticks.
Yeah.
And I don't for the life of me figure out why, because it comes across one of the main issues for me of the Whittaker era was the Doctor was never in control of a situation, never stepped up, never had that point where it was like, you will listen to me, I am going to sort this out, which all the Doctors had, and Whittaker could have done it. I believe she had the chops to do it, the acting chops to do it, never given a chance. And then you would shoot his Doctor. It seems like they seem very, very unconfident with the way they're approaching this, because if you've got confidence in something and a confidence in it, your promotion, your pictures, everything will just be like, this is going to blow your socks off. Just look at the first Eccleston trailer, that tunnel one that I think you discussed last week. You don't have to say a lot. You don't have to jazz it up. And it's not sorry,
let's compare like for like. Eccleston, they didn't make a big thing of his costume. Tennant, they didn't make anything of his costume. Jodie Whittaker, they made nothing of their costume. Capaldi, they made nothing of the costume. I mean, why are we doing this? And do you know what it makes me think of? It'll show my age, but I'm sorry, when I'm seeing this Doctor dressed up, it's taken me to this kind of scenario. And it's the character Huggy Bear. It's just this kind of that flamboyant character who they always met up with, and he I don't know if he did deals. Was he meant to be a little bit of a gay pimp or something? I can't remember.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look at his costumes. I was a little kid watching Starsky and Hutch for the car chases and everything. And then we all remember, everybody at school remembered Huggy Bear. And Huggy Bear, it was like cosplay. He was dressed up every week, very flamboyant, very out there. I think maybe very gay. And I feel I can't help it, but when they've dressed up Ncuti in so many different costumes, my default is something like this.
I'm sorry, Brendan. I'm going to say it again. Don't give them ideas, because those 3 pictures are now going to be appearing in season 2. And that is going to be squarely centered at your fault. Okay. That's you.
I think the berries a look. I think the berries possible.
Credit to the sense sphere.
Yeah.
But if you notice that these clothes are dated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Ncuti's outfits will, some of them will probably be dated and think, what on earth is he wearing?
I mean, to try and defend it a little, not Starsky and Hutch again, showing my age. I've never seen it. Sorry, Brendan. In terms of like characters and clothing, you can have characters that dress in a way that's appropriate to their characters. So my favorite science fiction comedy ever is Red Dwarf. So for me, the cat and the fact he changes clothing pretty much every other episode, apart from series 6 when they were a bit low on budget. That was very much part of his character. That kind of thing of he is a cat, so the whole thing they change, they preen themselves. So it can work. I don't think it's right for the Doctor though. Frankly,
another one I want to shout out now. Since when did the Doctor become Mystic Meg? Since when did the Doctor become Septic Peg, if you want to go for the joke version? Since when, for the Americans, did the Doctor become a fortune teller? When? Because that scene in the church on Ruby Road, when he tells that police officer, and it's supposed to be by logic, I know, it's a bit of Sherlock, but it's all gobbledygook. You've got a 2-carat ring in your pocket, the sale's over on Tuesday, the Sonic detected it, she's going to say yes. What the hell's that? The police officer might get run over tomorrow. She won't say yes. He'll never get to it. What's this all about? The Doctor, if the Doctor was a bloody fortune teller, why doesn't he just tell us the end of the series? Why doesn't he know where Ruby Sunday's come from? It makes no sense. And if the Doctor has always been a fortune teller, why didn't he work this out with Rose with Father's Day? Why didn't he work everything out? Why didn't he just be a bore? He is not Mystic Meg.
And on that same scene as well, the writing of the police officer, can we stop just having these silly, goofy comedy, one moment characters? He's meant to be a serious police officer that's coming to investigate something that's happened. It's that. I mean, maybe I'm an old fuddy-duddy now, but that just takes me out of it. It's like, because I'm thinking, well, a police officer wouldn't do that. police officer would be asking questions.
That scene was put in very, very quickly, wasn't it? Because apparently Russell T Davies said that the producers said that Ncuti's not in it enough. And funny enough, I think that's one of the only scenes where I felt like he was acting as the doctor. The whole, I'm the doctor. That's where I live. I've got no occupation. It felt very like things we've seen the Doctor do before. You know, like Tennant with the Doctor fun type thing. I think Ncuti's got his hand up. He wants to ask something. But yeah, that was about it, really.
I mean, I could go on. There's just loads. His Long Hot Summer with Houdini. I mean, I know John Pertwee's doctors mentioned Houdini, but he never mentioned a Long Hot Summer. So we're getting into the sexual hints and innuendos every time because RTD seems to allegedly get a bit of a thrill from it. Just like the groin twins by generation, you know, congroined twins, doctors. Honestly, what was all that about? A spark between your groins. When you add it all up, one off, you go, fine, it's just that. A second scene, you go, fine, it's just that. But when you join it together, it starts to look problematic that the writer's getting excited. And what's really worrying, Sean, if you think of your example from Red Dwarf, we had a black actor and they dressed him up in role, part of the character. Here we have dressing up. Never done it to any other Doctor. And when we go through this, and I mentioned Huggy Bear and all the rest of it, and because Starsky and Hutch were in mostly the same stuff all the time. Do you know what? Deep down, you start to wonder whether this is people playing with their little doll, and it's actually quite undermining, and it is not helping the actor. As Rachael said near the beginning, you know, if he gets typecast, if he gets in a position here, Russell Davies will survive, but Ncuti Gatwa might be terribly stereotyped with all this.
Yeah.
Well,
it's sorry, go on. Sorry.
I was about to say it was why Peter Davison left, wasn't it? And Christopher Eccleston. Well, I know Christopher Eccleston had other stuff going on as well, but just to avoid stereotype.
Yeah. I mean, and you know, the Red Dwarf example. You know, they looked at that back then, and even they questioned it back then. And I know I try not to get into politics, but it's a point about a TV show. In that when they were doing Red Dwarf and they wrote the character of the cat, they didn't go out to have it be a black actor or a black man. They went out to try and do anyone, who they thought could do the role. Sean, when they tried to do it with American, when they got Terry Farrell, who was a woman, if you don't know, and the reason why Craig Charles got involved is because at the time he was on Wogan Live or something doing like really politically charged poetry, and they gave him, because he's a poet, they gave him the script and said, can you read this and tell us if you think the character of the cat is racist? And he said, no, I think it's, because they were worried it was kind of like the Huggy Bear type thing. And he said, no, it's not. Who's reading for Lister? So that's how that all started, you know. And it was, so you're kind of thinking, why is nobody behind the scenes saying, hang on a minute, do you know how this might be perceived? Who knows? You know, but you do worry though that, you know, when it gets to these levels, is everybody just trying to just be like, oh yeah, that's fine, and just wait, like, I don't want to be the one to put my head above the parapet, so carry on. I don't know. I'm not psychic. I'm not there.
This is what we said a couple of weeks ago with the difference between a showrunner and a producer. That show's still out there. Is it seems that our showrunners have less brakes on them.
Yeah, it's no guardrails anymore.
Yep. That seems pretty obvious. I'm still sitting here traumatized by those pictures of Huggy Bear. Now we used to watch Starsky and Hutch, and I don't remember that character. Maybe that's a good thing. But Brendan, you said something really disturbing about dressing up a doll, and it's because when you were leading up to that, I'm like, really, is this like somebody playing with their Ken doll? And that's John summed it up that there's no guardrails. Isn't that what you just said, John? That there's no guardrails. Yeah.
That's
and
what David
I don't
Tennant
understand.
said in the documentary about.
Oh, did he?
He actually said there's no guard. He's a writer with the guardrails off now.
Unbelievable.
And I mean, that speaks volumes to the BBC as well, doesn't it? Really, because there doesn't seem to be anyone high up now that's got the power to reel these people in. By the looks of it, I mean, people here probably know more about the BBC than I do. Rachel, you probably know more internally than I do about the BBC, but it just speaks to me that there's no one there that's got the correct checks and balances in place for these people.
Well, it's hard to say because I haven't done anything BBC wise for quite a long time, but it's very cliquey, very tight, and do they get involved in politics? I guess they do sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to delve too much into it.
No,
But I'm not going to say I've already ruined my career at the BBC anyway. It would never happen after the things I've said on my channel. But yeah. And I think they're quite happy to go down the road. I mean, I certainly had some things to say about them agreeing with the Star Beast and some of the things that went on in the Star Beast, but I'm not going to get on to that right now. But
the Doctor's characters become very conflicted in all of this. I mean, the saving Davina McCall, the 15th Doctor thought he had to save Davina McCall from death. Now, is this celebrity culture gone mad? I mean, you might say it was a Christmas Day episode, but if he could say, why is the 15th Doctor so soft that he saves one person but not others? Because others will have to die. Remember in The Giggle, he said to the David Tennant Doctor, this has to happen sometimes, because the David Tennant Doctor was saying, why did so many people have to die? And it was the Ncuti Doctor who said, well, this kind of happens. And then suddenly, well, not to Davina McCall, it doesn't. And then you're thinking, this is silly. If he's changing timelines, he's going to no doubt tell Ruby Sunday off for standing on the butterfly in the new series and changing time. Chris Eccleston's Doctor told off Rose for trying to change time in Father's Day. And suddenly he saves her death by the Christmas star spearheading into her skull. Not allowed.
The best bit. It was the best bit.
Yeah. And Brendan, you know, you've mentioned this before, but we're talking about the same writer who, when you go back to the Star Beast, he takes them with him, and then he starts to lecture, you know, in an underground car park, and then two security officers or space officers are basically killed within a matter of moments. And he knew that there was someone evil in their presence, and yet he allowed them to die, essentially, because he put them in that position. So you've got that level of writing now where you're right. You know, you'll save Davina McCall, but you'll let two other individuals die. You know,
he's either not got brakes on him, or he's become very immature, or he thinks his audience is extremely immature and stupid. And I'm here to say you've got your audience wrong, because I've been teaching them for 30 years. You're totally wrong, mate.
I mean, has he got to a point now, do you think, where, and this is for everybody to chime in on it, do you think he's got to a point now, though, where he cannot create a story based on the existing logic of the universe in Doctor Who and the character of the Doctor? So to get himself out of that, he goes, I know what, I'm going to create a great story, but hang on a minute, that doesn't fit, that doesn't work at the moment. But what I'll do is I'll change the character of the Doctor, or I'll change this to fit my story.
Well,
not
he's
the other way around.
done it, hasn't he? He did it with Rose, not Rose Tyler, Rose Noble. To avoid certain issues, which I won't get into, he changed that particular timeline for his sake.
Well, I don't know. I try and be positive. I'm a Doctor Who fan, but I might have to say, I've got gripes all over the place. People, they saw me earlier on with this. I could go up and down that list. The third one down under my red column, Doctor Who is not an action man. I know John Pertwee in a few episodes was given that scope to be a bit of James Bond, but overall the Doctor is not action man. And he's certainly not Captain Britain, as the loose lips of Ncuti said, maybe hinting at the costumes or something. But you know, and this is where I know Rachael earlier was talking about the physicality of the Doctor, and she loved the rooftop scene in Church on Ruby Road. the trouble is, Rachel, I didn't like the jump into the ladder. I didn't like him catching the glass in the nightclub. And stuff like that, because I feel as though we're going from what is Doctor Who stands and thinks and talks and maybe does a Patrick Troughton run in the Invasion or something, to Action Man, Superman, Marvel.
Well, yeah.
Fair enough.
Okay.
We've kind of abandoned what Doctor Who. They've kind of abandoned what Doctor Who is. They've got rid of his origin. They've got rid of his planet. Now they've changed the show from. I know Rusty Davies said, "Oh well, we've moved away from hard sci-fi." Doctor Who was never hard sci-fi. What have you been watching? And then we're moving it more to fantasy, and it's like, no, you're taking the name of a show and slapping it on this new show, and trying to convince us all that it's still Doctor Who. And frankly, as I said in my review for the Christmas one and the specials, what you're selling, I'm not buying. I'm just not buying it. You can call it Doctor Who all you want. You can bring Murray Gold back, which is about the only thing left. I just don't buy it. I'd love to prove wrong. I would love to come on here in 6 months and be like, oh my God, I was so wrong. What about this moment? What about that moment? Because I'm a proper geek, like we all are, I just, it really irks me. And I don't understand what Ncuti's trying to do. I can't get a sense of his Doctor. It seems like he reacts to every situation in different ways. It's a bit like how Whittaker was with her Doctor. You never got a sense of who this Doctor was. And I'm not saying the Doctor can't change. Matt Smith could go from really strange, funky kind of dancing at a wedding to saying things like, don't ever think you can play games with me. Don't ever think you're capable of that. And really chilling kind of an audience. So, and I haven't seen a lot of old Who, as I've already said. So I'm sure there's numerous examples throughout Doctor Who's history of that. The Doctor's history of that, but this just seems so far away from what we've seen before. It's almost unrecognizable, and for me, it feels like what we all feared, that if the Americans, no, I don't mean all of you, I mean if American studios ever got their hands on Doctor Who, what they would try and do, we're trying to make Doctor Who go global. It already went global. You already broke America. Do you not remember? I know things can't, fly high for forever, but there's so many, and the thing is, they seem so confident that this is going to work, and you're like, really? Have you really convinced yourselves this works? Like that this is going to get everybody back?
I'm wondering if they're actually even bothered if it does work, actually, because of the impunity he's got with the deal. I mean, you're talking about the inconsistency of this Doctor and where is he going with it, and of course, I could go on and on and on, but me and Rachel were talking about, I was trying to talk about the accents and what they were called, and of course, he jumps around. 1 minute he's Rwandan Scottish accent. Sometimes he sounds a bit more British, as in English. Then other times he sounds multicultural London English, and he's bouncing around. And I'm finding it very problematic where we're going with it. Added to that, some of the American affectations like baby and trying to do that cool stuff. And I'm thinking, as you're saying, Sean, are we just reaching out to the global market again? But actually the Doctor's character hasn't been established yet about what his tone is, what his voice is, what his tongue is.
I've always said that I am so grateful that Americans have not tried to produce Doctor Who, because I think that actually would end it. And it's my understanding that the 1996 movie was actually more popular in the UK than what it was here in the US. And I enjoyed the movie. I think it was well written. I think the acting was excellent. But I was also happy that Doctor Who did not get picked up as an American series, because I think that actually would have destroyed it, because it is a British creation. And I think that if it had been picked up in America, that it probably would have never continued in the UK, and we wouldn't have anything that we've seen in the last 20 years. I think that it would have gone for maybe a season or two, and then that's it, and it would have been dead. So I'm grateful for the fact that it has not been Americanized. However, I am concerned about what Disney could possibly be influencing into it now. Because in America, since 2005, we've only had the Science Fiction Channel, which then changed its name to Sci-Fi, and then we had BBC America. Now, those are two smaller channels. One of them is specific to science fiction. The other one is specific to BBC programs. Now, Disney is one of the largest streaming services in the US right now. And I'm very concerned about it becoming Americanized because I don't want that. And I don't want that to end up being the cause of it ending or being put on hold or on break.
Yeah. Now, has anybody, a big debate about the Ncuti character, the 15th Doctor, has anyone got any kind of, as I always say, burning issues or kind of gripes or concerns that we haven't raised yet? No?
I've
Go
nothing
on.
to add about Ncuti's Doctor.
Yeah, go for it, please.
Oh, no, I haven't got anything to add about
Sorry.
Ncuti's Doctor.
You have on Ncuti.
I don't.
Okay. All right, then. Well, we've tried to cover the angles there on the 15th Doctor, his 15 minutes of fame in flames of fanfare. You know that we've covered the news of what he said before. Maybe we might have to revisit it again. It depends if it rears its head. But let's kind of lighten it for a moment because, of course, we were having a good laugh last show about the twerking nonsense. I mean, honestly, even Walkie, our little puppet, was getting involved in the top corner there. 2 hours 40 in, if you want to find it quickly. So I thought we'd have a quick item called the Doctor Dances. And so I just thought, right, okay, then. We were trying to get twerk into every Doctor Who title in history before, and we've got plenty of tweets out there. I'm going to really raise the game here for the panel. Right, okay. There's some of the key kind of dancers you could have in Strictly Come Dancing. Rumba, quickstep, tango, foxtrot, jive, cha-cha, Charleston, samba, salsa, waltz. So
I've got one already.
for it. You go for it.
A good man goes to waltz. That's me. I'll have that one.
Oh, very good, very good. So, there's your starters for 10. I've got instead of the chase, we've got the chat chase. No, I've got the waltz planet instead of the web planet. I've prepared these earlier, like Blue Peter. The tango meddler, the celestials salsa, the waltz machines.
Planet of the Twerkers.
There you go.
Rumba Lords.
Oh my God.
Salsa dance.
The
instead of
planet
snake
of the.
dance.
Oh, I was going to say instead of the Sontarans, you could have the Sonatas, but I don't think it quite works. But never mind. We'll move on.
Well, it's
quickly.
worth going for, isn't it? I mean, because we have had dancers in Doctor Who before. I mean, we can't deny it. I mean, obviously, I love the Sea Devils, so I'm going to have the Salsa Devils, and followed up by the Foxtrot in Space instead of Frontier. Or what about, instead of Carnival of Monsters, Charleston of Monsters? Oh, the Samba Experiment. Great two-part of that. Then later on, you had the Revenge of the Rumba, because the Rumba always kills you off, as you know, in the program. The Leisure
The church
Walk.
on, yeah.
Go on. What?
The church on Rumba Road. I was thinking, but either or.
I think you throw them in here. I think our thread later on will tell us if we failed. Jiver's Gate. Remember that one in E-Space? Forta Disco. And actually, one of my favourite ones was Delta on the Disco Men, like Village People. And then the Unquiet Quick Step. I don't know. Terror of the Tango. The Caves of Cha-Cha-Cha.
The Keeper of the Foxtrot. The Keeper of Foxtrot. Yeah.
As the Keeper of the...
Yeah. Well, it's Keeper of Trucking, isn't it? So Keeper of Foxtrot. Except we'll just have Anton de Beck there as well.
Oh, it's sat in the chair, saying pen.
Yeah.
Can we move?
Tango the Fendal?
The what of the Fendal? What was that?
Tango.
The tango. I know tango's a good one, isn't it? I love the tango. I like salsa and the Fury of the Disco. The Rumba Operation. That sounds really good, that one. The quick step from the pit. I don't know. Can you beat an unearthly twerk, the twerk clash and twerk flight and all those we had from last show? But there you go. But yeah, we've had dancing in a couple of stories. Black Orchid was notorious for it, wasn't it? And the Toy Maker and Tennant, of course. We had a bit of that. So yes. So we've said more of our fears than hopes about the Ncuti Gatwa 15th Doctor era. We've had a little moment talking about the dance routines and stuff. So we are going now straight into our news. Yes, good old Jinx Monsoon has to be mentioned. Nearly every news item, but here we go. It was led, in Devil's Cord. That character, according to RTD, she's part of this pantheon of gods with enormous powers. I think Doctor Who is all the more exciting when the enemy is impossible to beat, and this is someone changing all of time and space around them. Hooray!
Hey.
Well, how are you gonna have a show if the villain can't be beat? That doesn't make any sense. Is it just gonna be Jinx Monsoon versus the Doctor for 8 episodes or whatever it is?
Sean, you've forgotten doing a death. You do the death drop, don't you? Or you do a twerk.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just really happy to see that they are crossing over Doctor Who and Star Trek: The Next Generation again. It's been done in comics before, and this right here makes it obvious that Jinx Monsoon is Q.
Well,
And
to
I
be
hate-
fair,
No.
I hate the Q.
oh no, I like the first. I mean, it plays right anyway, doesn't it? Speaking of dances, the diddle Mon Capitaine and all that. Oh yeah,
Oh no, Rachel's champing at the bit.
Yes, I am chomping at the bit because obviously I had a lot of theories about the Devil's Cord, and it looks like this is playing into my theory that Jinx is summoned by the Devil's Cord being played on the piano, and she is this unknown being. And if it is the god, this is what leads to. Well, I was originally thinking Athenian, and then I was like, no, it can't be Athenian. And then I did a bit of research on it, and I pulled up Egypt, and I got the name. I think it was Orsis or something like that, which was the
Cyrus.
Osiris. Sorry, yeah, that's it. Sorry, I can't remember the name off the top of my head. Which then led me to Sutek.
Yay!
Is it the Orsons or Sons? I can't remember how you say it, but it's been a long
Sirens.
Sirens. There we go. Or Sirens. Yeah, and that's what led me to that. And I was like, oh, okay, it looks like Brendan might be right.
Let's just advertise that show again. It's hit 800 because everybody knows I'm onto it. Until I'm not. But I'm still going to ride that high for the moment. Check out that show. I think I go for 17 slides of evidence that leads you down a merry dance that leads you to Sutek, but it could quite easily go elsewhere. You've talked about this on your channel, haven't you, Rachel? What were your theories regarding the pantheon of gods and all that stuff?
That's a really good question. I actually don't mind it. I don't mind going into that. I suppose it is fantasy in some ways, but it beats the ridiculous fantasy that we had in the Church on Ruby Road any day. But I like the idea that there are potential gods all answering to this one being, which I'm guessing is going to be Sutek, because they keep talking about dust as well. Yes. So I just like the idea that it's all going to potentially link to something like that.
I have to say, having all seen the giggle again, the toy maker, before he went into that box surrounded by salt in the deepest vault in Unit, did say, my legions are coming. And so legions is more armies, takes you back. And so whose armies? And so...
Well, then maybe the other characters are... obviously we only really know things about Jinx, but maybe the other characters are that pantheon of gods and whatever it is. My brain's going, but it's Yeah, so maybe one of them is like a god of war and
Yeah.
brings the army to it. I mean, I did look at the possibility that Jinx might be that, but I don't think Jinx is that per se. And
Well,
it's definitely not goddess of music, that's for sure. Even
no,
though she can control music.
because we were wondering, weren't we? You wouldn't have the baddie in so early on, the key baddie. It's
No, you
too
wouldn't.
early.
Yeah, it's too early.
Yeah.
I think, and this is me just today thinking more into it. I have a feeling. I brought up Fenric earlier, and it was one of the. It was either a book or a Big Finish audio years ago, but they talked about the great intelligence, Fenric, the toy maker, all being beings outside of this universe, and effectively they came from the same plane. I've just got a feeling that he's riffing off that a bit, really, because he's had the toy maker back. I've got a feeling we've obviously in New Who we've seen the great intelligence. I wouldn't put it past him to think there's a powerful being behind them that's on a higher plane of existence that calls the shots. So I would lean into that now as well. I don't think it's going to be Sutek. Sorry to disappoint you, Brendan, but I do think that it's going to be something like that for the gods.
Jeremy, come on, we're roughly the same age. What is your reckoning on the pantheon of gods? Come on, what is Jinx Monsoon going to be? One of the Eternals, one of the Guardians, Sutek's babe? I don't know.
I've absolutely no idea. I mean, you can theorize about it, but I think that the Master is going to be brought back somehow into this, and that's all I can think of. I don't think Sutek's coming back.
The trouble is, Jeremy, they've made the Master such a puny little thing that I actually don't want him, her, or it back, because he's been turned into a gold tooth. He keeps losing. He's overused. He's now a mad man or mad woman. And clear off. I really don't want him back.
Do you know what I would really like to see for once? I would really love if they were going to bring the Master back and do a proper, like you say, not an OTT Master, but calculated, a Delgado style. Bring that back. But what I'd really like to see is if you're bigging it up to say, oh, this is the biggest, baddest danger the Doctor's ever faced, to have him almost like Claws of Axos, having to pull in the Master and say, look, we've got to work together on this. This is as much about your survival as mine. Do a story like that, because that would be a great story that they've not done, really. I mean, they touched on it with Missy traveling with the Doctor, but not in the scale that I'm talking about. That would be a really clever thing to do if you were going to bring the Master back.
But bring the Master back with Derek Jacobi.
Yeah,
because I actually think he would be a more muted version of the Master. Now that would be obviously some of that's age related, but even when they revealed him as the Master, it was still very muted, wasn't it? Yeah.
War Master was great on Big Finish as well. Really good.
Sorry,
all right, Sean.
War Master is Jacobi. Sorry,
It was Sean. Going back to what you were both saying about having more of a Delgado, more of a Jacobi, more of an understated Doctor. I'd love that, but nothing about this era screams understated, calculated, calm, efficient. It all screams over the top.
I'm just trying to keep myself sane.
I know, and I'm sorry to stifle your dreams further. I'm the same. The one thing I loved about all the Doctors, barring maybe Whittaker, but I think it was writing more than performance, is that every Doctor had that darkness, that moment where you saw they truly weren't human. They weren't. You might have think they were. You might have friends, whatever. But they always had that moment where you saw that little bit of an edge, that bit of darkness that I really loved. And that I think that's essentially been stripped out. Obviously, we haven't seen it, so I'm making a lot of assumptions. But from bits I've seen, I just think I don't know what's here for me now, because the shows I watch, if I want to be truly entertained and I want to laugh, and it's not Doctor Who, if that makes sense. Entertainment, yeah, but
Well,
Who
Sean,
knows?
this is the future. He's headline 3. This is what Rachael was mentioning earlier. Doctor Who showrunner says they don't talk about previous doctors on set. It's more exciting to look forward. And in some ways, I understand that philosophy. You know, keep looking forward. Don't get too nostalgic, and don't. I think Doctor Who got bogged down in the 80s when they did that too much, really, and it was all kind of twisted itself in knots. Some would argue that the Doctor Who movie did the same thing by having to try explain the Sylvester McCoy Doctor, then kill him off and all the rest of it. We got bogged down. So I understand this idea of looking forward, but I also think, really, I mean, who wants to call the shots here? I mean, RTD, you're only looking forward, are you?
RTD, really? The guy who's brought Tennant back, the guy who's come back. That's like me saying I need to talk less. Be realistic, RTD. Be realistic.
Well, I totally agree that it is exciting to look forward. And what I'm really looking forward to is when we have a different showrunner and creative team and a different group of
Absolutely.
writers.
Yeah,
She'll be dead. It'll be dead
100%.
by
I'm
then.
looking forward to the next era.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you know, Grego is absolutely right on that. Sean made a very good point. And, you know, you even look at, he brought the toy maker back. He's bringing Mel back, as it says there. You know, one thing RTD has done is he's always brought back characters from the original run, because in my opinion, the monsters that he's able to create, bar a few, they don't stand the test of time like the classic show or the stories that were there. And I don't think that the show will stand on its own 2 feet without those classic characters. So it's a stupid comment he said, but then I'm kind of getting used to him saying stupid stuff now.
Yeah, I mean, you've said so far. You've mentioned Mel Bush, the toy maker, Tennant and Donna Noble coming back, Unit coming back, Kate coming back, Timeless Children being mentioned, Davros being mentioned, Wilf coming back, the Master. Hello, you are not looking forward, mate. You are looking very back.
That's right.
I think
What a
Moffat. Sorry. Yeah, that was a good pod to cut you off, wasn't it? I think Moffat was the one who created, you know, I think some of the more iconic villains, whether they were there for one episode, you know, the gas mask zombies, you had the Silence, did he create the Vashta, or was that the other? The Weeping Angels, although they got a
Weeping
bit
Angels.
overused. I let them off. So the really standout ones are from Moffat's episodes, and I'm not going to fully give him credit because you don't know what discussions are had behind the scenes, but I'm totally with you, John, on that in terms of what has Russell T Davies, what episodes has he done where you go, okay, that's a really iconic one. I mean, there's Midnight, but you don't see it.
No.
So
the Ood is probably the only one that I could say possibly. Yeah, I would say they are great, but other than that, I can't think of. I'm not going to mention the Slovene.
Actually, to be fair, no, I was going to say the Reapers, but the Reapers was. I don't think that was Russell T Davies who wrote that one, was it? It was.
No.
Can't remember the guy's name. But I don't think it was Russell T Davies.
Paul Cornell.
That's the one. I think it was. Yeah, I think it was. I love those creatures and the music. I'm sorry, I'm trying to go back to what I love about Doctor Who when they appear. That's what I want. I want that again, and I hope I get it. I really do.
Sean, I'm warning you now. RTD's only looking forward, and you're looking back.
Sorry. Yeah, you're right. I do apologize.
Sorry, come on, get with the script, man. So,
I'm looking forward to the end credits. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Did anyone see the sneak little mini Disney trailer? Which.
No.
It wasn't too exciting, but I've taken some screenshots. You've got on the top shot, I mean, they love putting Disney there, don't they? The TARDIS is spinning towards that space station. You've got the Armageddon on Earth, you know, when you got all that. It looks like it looked a bit 9/11, to be quite honest. It looked horrific, didn't it? But then that car is reversing into that mess in the trailer. You had that scene at the top where they're looking to a room. I'm guessing that's the room where they see the space babies. Then it goes back and shows you him nightclubbing again from Church on Ruby Road. You've got the butterfly bit, this bit when he has to light it up, but that looks like it's his Devil's Cords gear. And then just her in the nightclub and her being lit up, and then you get the credits there. But there wasn't much to go on. But I thought I'd mention that we have seen other trailers, but they're not exciting, are they?
No.
Brendan, look at that writing. Sorry to jump in again, everyone. I'm gobby. Look at that writing there. This says it all for me. Disney Plus, the home of new Doctor Who. That says it for you. That
Why
right there
new?
for me. Why home?
'Cause it's
BBC
reboot.
should be the home.
Why
I
new?
know.
Why home? Why? Why did they do it?
And
It's not. Oh yeah.
And although they're going to hide the ratings, the one thing that I would say to everybody is look at the Nielsen top 20 in the US, and also look at the Disney Plus charts that they release. At the Christmas one, the Church on Ruby Road didn't make the top 10 on Disney Plus. And it wasn't even in the top 20 on the Nielsen's. So that goes to show to you, as much as they can spin it, if their own app is telling them, hang on a minute, it's not even in the top 10 of programs, that shows you how popular it is. So that will be an interesting tale in a few weeks' time.
Yeah, but they're going to amalgamate all the figures together, aren't they? They'll say, oh, there's about 20 million people watched it.
7 billion.
It's a wonderful success.
Yeah, it's it. Yeah. They were watching it on the moon.
Or they'll go down the road of saying, well, it's not about figures, it's about whether people appreciate it. And, they'll pick whatever figure they like. Or whether actually, as the BBC actually used to be, the BBC wasn't about ratings. The BBC was about quality programs that cover a lot of different topics that part of their agenda had to cover. Obviously, we've lost that completely, but it is all about ratings now because they need a license fee paid for.
The ratings were still important even back then in the 70s because there was a fair bit of competition between ITV and BBC. So they were always vying for, which is the top program.
Yeah, and when you've got competition, you need to keep the quality up because you're always constantly battling. It's like if you're in a business and you've got a rival company or a rival YouTuber or a rival podcaster, and you're thinking, right, I need to, and they are constantly stepping up the bar, and you think, I need to continue to raise the bar. And the problem with a streaming site is very much it's not transparent enough to allow you to do that. And then not to get into it because I don't know the figures, and I don't want to make it up. But I mean, Disney Plus has lost money. That's just a proven fact.
Yeah.
So it's a very strange. I think it'll go for a couple of years now. I think it will just quietly end. Maybe they'll do a couple more specials and then say, "Oh, we'll be back," but we'll see.
I would say, Sean, as well with Disney, it's where they won't care about ratings. All they want, and I'm going to use that word again, is content. They don't care if it's good. They don't care if it's bad. They just want something that they can slap on for 8 episodes over several weeks while they're waiting for the next show that they want to put on, just to try and keep people subscribed. And that's their model. Yeah.
How dare we be selfish and want,
I know.
How dare we want our money's worth? How dare we?
Yeah.
I mean, when I look at it, the name on Doctor Who and Disney, it almost feels like a brand, like a commodity rather than a television program. It's just that's the way it feels.
Yeah,
that's what Disney's done, isn't it? They've bought things up and bought things up and bought things up, rightly or wrongly. It's like when you can't create on your own. I'm not saying they've done this, but when you can't create your own, just go out and buy.
Okay, the next item of news. Sometimes it's interesting to see who they've kind of chosen for various parts. Don't know if anyone saw this one. The Emily in Paris actor Paul Foreman to guest star in Doctor Who. And of course, he gives a quote that says he's excited. I mean, what do you expect? And then he explains a little bit more. He will play a mysterious Regency-era character named Lord Barton, who has a surface-level charm, but carries sinister secrets underneath his smooth words. And And Foreman then later on said to join such an established project and to combine it with this feeling of new and unbounded possibilities was thrilling. It made this role a special experience. So we've got, you know, there he is, Paul Foreman, Lord Barton, comes along in episode 6. I don't think anyone's quite expecting him to be this sort of person.
Oh.
Does anyone know him? Does anyone get excited by that? I don't know.
No, never heard of him.
Never heard of him. Never heard of him.
No.
So, you know, but you know, it's that classic episode 6, isn't it? Rogue. I thought Jonathan Groff was the baddie, the cad, as it says in the trailer, when he winks at you know who, or Ncuti winks at him. And then we've got this one. So now that sounds like 2 rogues. So maybe one of them isn't a rogue. So maybe one of them is Captain Jack. You know.
So what do we actually think? Sorry, did I miss something earlier? When you are they actually? Is there a theory that they're bringing Captain Jack back with a different face?
Yeah, that has been discussed by fans.
Oh no! Oh please no! That right? If that happens, I am done. I am literally. If that happens, I am literally turning it off and I'm gone. Oh no! Please,
mind
no,
you, that
no.
would explain why when you met recently, John Barrowman, he didn't give an answer because he possibly knows an answer, which is possibly that somebody else has got the role. I don't know. It's all speculation.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, go
sorry.
on.
So if nobody knows much about him, we wish him luck. He sounds as though he's going to be an interesting character. We need them. Well, I think this might just kind of get you salivating. I'm sure you saw this. Oh,
Twerkles.
Who's getting the Doctor Who magazine? Well, I've subscribed to it, so I'm getting it. But
you know what? They look more like Dwayne Dibley from Red Dwarf than they
Harold
do.
Wolowitz.
Yeah.
Or the Lloyd Christmas has opened a barber shop from Dumb and Dumber. That's more like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
What on earth is that?
And then somebody said John Lennon in that period didn't wear glasses either.
Yeah, that was me. I said that.
Yeah.
Yes, I was watching your.
It was later on.
I don't know how to. Oh, can you edit this, Brendan? Because I might ask something here that I'm not sure how it's going to sound. The 1/3 from the left is the one that's. Is that a woman, or am I missing something?
I wondered that.
Is that a woman? I mean, if it turns out it's you know, I don't know if it's you know, if it. So feel free to cut it, but it looks like a woman to me. I don't know.
Who
I
knows
don't know.
these days?
No, I honestly thought that was the 4 actors who were playing the Beatles, and I didn't think they were doing anything with them. They wouldn't dare. The point I had about this is they were quite happy to change the Isaac Newton presentation. Go on,
Yeah.
Rachel. You play your bit. Go on.
What was I going? So what I was going to say was, okay, we know these do not look like anything like the Beatles, and so this is either, and this is not against the actors, just to be clear, this is either really lazy casting or an alternate timeline.
Where Ruby
Gravity's a
Sunday doesn't
powerful
exist.
thing.
I'll go with A, please, Bob.
Well, to me, they don't look like the Beatles.
Yeah, they don't look like the Beatles. Which Isaac Newton didn't resemble Isaac Newton as well. So is there a running theme here? So
Yeah.
Well, I was interested that the running theme was that they were very happy to change an old genius into somebody that never looked like any pictures of him. That is probably because there is a parallel universe. Whereas this, RTD has his limits, doesn't he? He wouldn't dare change popular culture icons.
Well, I'm going to call it now. Sorry, I was just going to say, I bet in this episode, you can tell me if I'm wrong, if I am, but the Doctor will talk down to these characters because they will be idiots. They will be portrayed as idiots in this episode.
Yes, Rachael?
I figured out what was going on. They can't get the copyright to the Beatles' faces. It's too expensive.
Yeah.
Is that why it looks as though Ringo Starr's in the drum? You know, that clip when,
Yeah.
Well, maybe if they cut back on a few outfits for him, they could have afforded it.
Isn't it mad?
Ish.
You're going to have
one song.
There must be a trick here. I think he's not telling us everything. You know, in his interview, he said the copyright for Beatles music, it's impossible. I mean, why then, knowing that, he knew that before he typed one letter, why would you do a Beatles episode if the whole point of it is you can't play any of their music?
Exactly.
I think he's telling Porky's or Murray Gold's going to do something very close to one of their songs and style.
I mean, it'd be better just having a made-up band, something similar like the Beatles, but and then having particular 60s music in that style for that particular band, but don't have the Beatles.
Yeah, the Twerkles is great.
Yeah.
or they're only in it for 5 minutes as a cameo.
Maybe.
Or you just see the backs of the Beatles and that's it.
Well, there is a shot of them where you see them from your point of view as you're in the recording studio bit, and they're in the actual main studio, and they're facing you. But then we've also seen clips, haven't we, where it's like a battle of the bands, and they're all dancing in rain indoors, and he's singing, isn't Ncuti singing, and he's rocking and rolling. He's not curtsying to the Goblin King this time, but he's singing again. That seems to be a thread.
Yay.
I don't know.
I've just looked, Brendan. It's on Radio Times. That apparently they've got the actors who play them. So it's George Capel as Paul McCartney, Chris Mason as John Lennon, Philip Davies as George Harrison, and James Hoyles as Ringo Starr. So yeah, I may have been mistaken about that. My apologies. It appears they are men. I wasn't sure if my eyes were playing tricks or if I thought, is Russell T Davies trying to... Because you don't know, because in the original run, they did do things where it was like, is there a bit of mystery? What's going on? And with this whole Mavity thing, you don't know where they're going, do you?
I thought that the one who's cast as John Lennon looked more like Sean Astin from Lord of the
Goonies crossover.
Yeah, the Goonies. Yeah, that's it. Goonies Astin.
Harry Potter's dad. Yeah.
It could have been worse, folks. It could have been worse than this.
It could have been.
Oh
wow! What?
Why do you do these things to me? Why
Look at that! Look at that lovely.
I forgot that existed.
Yeah. Look.
Why did you do that to me?
I tell you what, Brendan, it gets you asking: is this the real life? Is this just fantasy? Doesn't it? I mean, it's just it's easy come, easy go. I'll stop. Sorry.
Doctor Who's starting to get a bit like that, isn't it?
You can even see. You can even see Bradley Walsh. Yeah, you can even see Bradley Walsh's face going, I've only got one more episode and I'm out of all this. But yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. I mean, but this is it. I mean, if you go back to when the Beatles were in Doctor Who in the chase, and they did play a Beatles track for a little moment.
Ticket to Ride.
You had, thanks. Ticket to Ride. You had a 60s iconic band with a 60s sci-fi hit blending perfectly. But now the Beatles are elderly and sadly not all of them with us. And Doctor Who is sadly elderly and hardly with us. No, but you know, you kind of got... it's the run time to try and do this. And when you see that Radio Times front cover and you get one of the best bands in the world, Queen, and they're trying to do a version of that and you're going, oh, God, you're bigging yourself up, aren't you?
Look, I'm just going to be thankful for Small Mercies because we could have ended up with a Doctor Who and Lizzo crossover and that would have been absolutely terrible.
Do you know what's worse? Do you know what's worse, Brendan? If you look at not that I'm going to get into it, but if you look at the dates on that Radio Times, we were locked in our bloody houses a couple of weeks after that, so we couldn't even escape this rubbish. Oh,
well, I thought the Doctor could see the future. All the Doctor had to do is say, look, buy a lot of Kleenex, buy an awful lot of, fruit and everything because you're going to be locked up. I mean, I know. When you see that, it's not as long ago as you think, the Jodie Whittaker era wasn't that long ago, really.
Well, maybe they're trying to bring it full circle because they're trying to reenact a Queen shot there, right? Okay, and currently, right now, we have Brian May's wife, Anita Dobson.
Yes,
going to be in Doctor Who, so maybe they're trying to all tie it in.
Also in Red Dwarf.
Far-fetched, huh?
She was in Red Dwarf as well. Just...
Oh, was she? I didn't know that.
She played a character that gets shot. She's only in it like 30 seconds. It's the
Ah,
episode. It's the Sirens episode. Funnily enough, go back
Yeah.
to Sirens. I think RTD's been watching Red Dwarf, Sirens, just stuff like that. Gods. He's clearly been watching a bit of Red Dwarf.
We
Clearly.
just need Legion now.
Well, yeah, you said exactly.
now
Yeah.
it's going to be the Sirens of Time.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
well,
that would mean you'd have to go off the Earth.
That would, yeah.
well, that was our Sunday. That was the news. That was the merchandise that we've noticed so far of any interest, and that was our debate about: are we keen, excited about the Ncuti Gatwa 15th Doctor new season from what we've seen so far and from what we've heard so far? The jury is not out. I think the verdict was quite clear. Anyway, thank Greg, who was here earlier. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, John. Thank you, Sean. And thank you, Rachel. And good to see you again. And we'll see you again, everybody.